What's up, guys? Welcome into Deep Dive Fantasy Football. Today we are debating Laviska Shenault versus Chase Claypool. And a lot of people, especially early on in the season, Chase Claypool. Obviously, right? I don't think so. I actually would rather have Laviska Shenault right now, straight up, head to head, than opposed to Chase Claypool. If I had to choose one in a draft, I'm taking Laviska Shenault. If I had Chase Claypool and somebody offered me Laviska Shenault, I'm taking Laviska Shenault. Why? Why, Brandon? Let's get into it. So first, let's talk about some head-to-head stats, which shows us, how good the wide receiver is, regardless of situation. All right, so first off, we have age. Not much of a factor because they're so close in age. They're both 22. Laviska's a tiny bit younger. Now, let's talk about target percentage. Chase Claypool got 24.3% of his targets, or of his team's targets. That's great. That target rate is awesome, but you have to keep in mind that means there's not much room to grow from there. That is such a big target share. The biggest target shares that you see from the top dog elite wide receivers in this league are usually between 25% and 29%. Very rarely you'll have two or three people that go over 30%. DeAndre Hopkins has done it. Diggs may have done it this year. I haven't checked yet. But usually the top dog wide receivers are between 25, 28%. Claypool's already at almost 25 at 24.3, so not much room to improve there in the target category. Then we have Laviska Shenault, 19.6. So this is actually a stat that's promising to me because that tells you Laviska Shenault has a lot of room to improve, a lot of room to grow. He can get more targets next year moving forward than he did this year. Now let's talk about their yards per route run. It's a good metric to, look at wide receivers, how much they're getting targeted when they're running routes. Once again, Claypool has Laviska edged out in this category, but this is when it stops. He's got 1.88 yards per route run, and for Laviska Shenault, it's 1.49. So once again, something that Laviska can tend to improve on because he's not getting targeted as the main guy there just yet, but I expect that fully to change. Here's why. Let's look at the true catch percentage, right? The true catch rate on both of these wide receivers. Laviska Shenault, 91.2% true catch rate, top of the class, top of this super deep wide receiver class, better than Justin Jefferson, better than CeeDee Lamb, better than T. Higgins, better than all of these guys. Number one in this class, Laviska Shenault at 91.2% catch rate. Chase Claypool's true catch rate, 79.2%, just about average. Now, let's look at separation. Laviska Shenault, 1.28 yards of separation on average to Chase Claypool's 1.22. That's pretty close, so I'm not going to make a big deal about that. Here's something that's a super big deal, especially when you consider Chase Claypool is a huge guy with great size. This should be his thing, and this is what people loved about him coming out of college. I was never that high on him in college coming out, but this was one thing that he did really well, or it seemed like he would do really well and would translate to the NFL, and that's winning 50-50 balls, contested catch percentage, and it's so bad for Claypool. So bad. Laviska Shenault's contested catch rate is 58.3%. Once again, the number one in the class, just like his true catch percentage. So Laviska Shenault is showing to have the best hands in this class already. And you know what that means? That means he's going to get more targets. It means he's going to get more looks, more involvement in the red zone, all of these things. Where on the other side of things, Chase Claypool, we're going from number one in the class from Laviska Shenault to the last receiver, the worst wide receiver in this class is Chase Claypool with 14.3% of his contested balls being caught. 14.3. Laviska has him quadrupled. Now, let's look at points per game, right? How did they finish this year? Obviously, a lot will change, but how did they finish this year? Laviska Shenault, points per game, 12.2. Chase Claypool, 12.8. That's despite having 7 touchdowns more than Laviska Shenault and being on a team that threw the ball more, having a bigger target rate than Laviska Shenault, and all of these things, still, he was only better than Laviska Shenault by 0.6 points per game. That's it. So, as you can see, Laviska Shenault has a lot of room to grow. Chase Claypool does not. Let's start talking about some other factors, right? We're talking Dynasty here. If we look at the quarterbacks, you have Big Ben for probably one more year in Pittsburgh Whereas for the Jaguars, they're going to have a new quarterback. Yes, so technically there's a quarterback question, but we know it's going to be Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, both of whom are upgrades at this point compared to Big Ben where he's at in his career. So Big Ben, now at his age, and only for 1 year, we have no idea what they're going to be able to do with quarterback in the future. Or you can have Fields and Lawrence tied up to Laviska for 4 or 5 years minimum. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that quarterback room. Yes, please. Now, let's talk about target competition, right? Chase Claypool is dealing with Deontay Johnson. Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent, but they might re-sign him. So we'll keep this as a half, all right? So we got 1.5 so far. Then you have Eric Ebron, who's going to be there next year. So that's now 2.5, right? So that's 2.5 good targets that Chase Claypool has to compete with. Possibly you can consider James Washington as another good target. Now, if you look at Laviska Shenault, his only target competition is DJ Chark. That's it. There's no big tight end there like Eric Ebron. Tyler Eifert is so far into his career, he's not a factor, right? And other than DJ Chark, there's not very many receivers there. Keelan Cole is no better than a James Washington, right? Chris Conley is no better than a James Washington. So, honestly, you're getting a better quarterback, less quarterback competition. And now let's look at how the situation may change for the future. Let's look at pass attempts. The Steelers threw the ball 656 times this year. Why? Well, their defense has been banged up. Big Ben is not making big plays down the field. Therefore, he's having to throw the ball shorter more. So even though it's a higher pass attempt, it's not, each pass is not as valuable because they're very close to the line of scrimmage. And then you also have the fact that the Steelers have had a very tough time in the run game this year, among injuries and also just guys not performing as well. I expect them to have a new running back next season. So when their defense is healthier and gets back to that number one defense in the league, they get a running back that's more effective. All of a sudden, they're not going to be throwing the ball 656 times. When you have a team that has a defense that's one of the best in the league, top 5, you almost never see that. So that's coming down. Trust me, I would bet my life on it. And then the Jaguars threw the ball 616 times. Both of these teams among the most in the league. The Jaguars are likely to stay high. They're going to throw the ball a lot because when you have Fields or Lawrence, they're going to be on the field and sustain drives more than Gardner Minshew was or Jake Luton or Mike Glennon, right? So they're going to be able to sustain drives and have more offensive plays, first off. Second off is their defense. The Jaguars' defense is not great, and it's not going to get better super quickly. So they're going to be in negative game scripts. The Steelers are not going to be chasing points. They're not going to be in negative game scripts nearly as much as the Jaguars with that defense, plus having a better running back and all of those things. Whereas the Jaguars, they're going to be chasing points a lot, especially if you look at their division. Houston is always going to have a good offense with Deshaun Watson. The Colts have Jonathan Taylor. They're probably going to get a guy like Carson Wentz or bring in some high-profile quarterback, right? And they have a great offensive line. They're going to be putting up points. The Titans, one of the most efficient, somehow, offenses in the league with Henry, A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill, always putting up points. So they're going to be chasing points a lot. And all of these things, between Laviska Shenault being way more efficient, top of the class in true catch rate, top of the class in contested catch percentage, than Chase Claypool, who is bottom of the class in contested catch percentage, and pretty much worse in every metric than Laviska Shenault other than yards per route run. I'm going to take that added to a better quarterback on a team that's likely to throw the ball more often for a longer period of time in the future, and has less target competition. Give me Laviska Shenault every freaking time.